Good afternoon. I'm Stacey Van Dyke with a story that's new at 4. 2 people have been arrested after a traffic stop in Clay County led to finding $15,000 worth of what's believed to be powdered fentanyl. The Moorhead Police Department says 53-year-old Marcellus Beasley and 29-year-old Hannah Halen, both of Moorhead, are facing felony drug charges for illegal drug distribution. Police received information that the two were transporting the drugs from Chicago to Moorhead. During a vehicle stop, they provided the officers with small bags containing what's believed to be 50 grams of powdered fentanyl. Police say street drugs containing fentanyl have caused a significant increase in accidental overdoses in the metro. The trial for the man accused of killing a Fargo man last summer just minutes before the victim's birthday is set to begin tomorrow. 40-year-old Raymond Gunn faces the rest of his life in prison if convicted in the shooting death of 41-year-old Eric Hayes. It happened outside the Loaf and Jug in North Fargo on July 24th. Fargo police say nearby surveillance video showed Gunn approaching Hayes with a handgun while Hayes had his hands raised in the air. Court documents say Gunn was later seen falling backwards and shot Hayes one time. Gunn's trial is expected to last until the end of the week. A 39-year-old man has been arrested in connection to a deadly hit-and-run in Mandan. It happened this morning in the parking lot of the All Seasons Arena. Mandan police were searching for the driver when they say a Bismarck police officer saw the suspect's vehicle, so the officer tried to stop it. The driver, they say, took off, drove down a hill, and ended up hitting a Motel 6. The victim was a 77-year-old man, but authorities have not released his name. They also haven't released the name of the suspect. Well, the spring snowmelt is underway with impacts evident in parts of the valley. According to the National Weather Service, the melt has been quick and we're expecting more precipitation tomorrow, but the flood outlook is expected to be mild. Some fields north of town are seeing water pooling and a few roads have been closed, but it's unlikely, they say, that Fargo will see major flood levels this year. The city of Fargo is closing Elm Street in North Fargo due to rising water in the Red River. That closure is just south of the El Zago Golf Course. The street will remain closed until the floodwaters recede below the roadway. A map of street closures can be found online at fargostreets.com. Let's go to Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson now with the first look at the forecast. Hutch?
Stacey, thanks so much. And well, I got to tell you, as we head into our work week, we have big time changes beginning right now. Now, outdoors in the FM area and beyond, upper right hand screen there, Dakota Magic Casino at Hankinson, nice in the 50s. We're at 55 or so here in Fargo, and Grand Forks in the 50s as well. But look what's flying in the Devil's Lake Basin. Changes aplenty are on the way, and that's your headline in the weather for tonight as we take a look at this big cold front making its way through. Help me find a cold front. Yep, temperatures are in the 50s here, 55 Fergus Falls. It's 20 degrees cooler as we get into the Devil's Lake Basin. And that extends down to you in Jamestown as well. And here it is on the radar. We have green where there's some rain showers making their way through and flakes are flying mainly along and north of Interstate 94. This is all going to be making its way eastward tonight. But for you heading home from work, you're going to run into some wet, heavy snow, some rain showers in other parts. As we go into the overnight hours, more of us will see snow. Now notice this, not a lot of accumulation expected here in the valley. And the amount of moisture we're getting should be under 1/2 of an inch of liquid equivalent moisture. Whether you get snow or rain, you melt it down, that will not impact the flood too greatly. Take a look at this, 1 to 3 inches by the time we get into the mid-morning hours tomorrow along the international border, and out east is where we have the best chance at seeing some more significant accumulations, 1 to 3 inches for portions of Beltrami County, all the way to Hubbard County and north into Lake of the Woods County. Stacey, I'll have hour-by-hour details on the track of the snow. We'll look ahead at the rest of the work week and a little bit more information on the flood outlook here in a few minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Hutch. With weather being top of mind across the country, the focus in Congress is on legislation known as the Tornado Act. This comes after a series of deadly tornadoes in Iowa. The National Weather Service issued a tornado warning, but that warning disappeared due to what they're calling a technical glitch. Some news stations caught it in real time, but many residents didn't see the warning.
Well, the polygon went away. Let's just double check. Not sure why my tornado warning popped off there, but again, still looking at that tornado warning.
The National Weather Service later confirmed 2 to 7 minute delays from the time warnings were issued. They say they had a warning, but their system didn't activate it. Now there's a bipartisan effort in Congress pushing for a fix. The Tornado Act would establish ways to improve the communication of alerts and hopefully save lives. Hearings began today for President Biden's Supreme Court nominee, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. Judge Jackson heard opening statements from members of the Senate Judiciary Committee and gave her opening statement. Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar was among the senators to speak in favor of Judge Jackson.
You're the first black woman, and it's long past time. In fact, this entire hearing is about opening things up. The hearing room, we've opened it up with actual guests for the first time in a while. And you're opening up the Senate and the court by virtue of your very presence.
Judge Jackson has been asked about her time on the bench, her record as a prosecutor, as well as her time as a public defender. If confirmed, she would be the first black woman to sit on the Supreme Court. She would also be the first justice to ever have extensive experience as a public defender. President Biden spoke with European leaders today ahead of his trip overseas later this week to deal with the crisis in Ukraine. Russia's deadly invasion is now in its 4th week and showing no signs of letting up. Skylar Henry has the latest from the White House.
Surveillance video shows Russian troops opening fire on protesters in the occupied Ukrainian city of Kherson. Russian missiles are also pounding targets in Kyiv. At least 8 people were killed in an attack Monday on a shopping mall. Russia claims the shopping center was being used to store weapons, but the U.S. lays the blame squarely at Russia's feet.
Each day brings more harrowing attacks, more innocent men, women, and children killed.
In the hard-hit port city of Mariupol, leaders have rejected Russia's offer to allow civilians to leave in exchange for surrender. A senior U.S. defense official tells CBS News the southern city is becoming increasingly isolated, but overall, the Russian invasion remains largely stalled.
Russia is intensifying their bombardment and long-range fires on cities and population centers throughout the country.
President Biden spoke with European leaders by phone for nearly an hour ahead of his trip later this week to Belgium to discuss the ongoing crisis.
They underscored their continued support for Ukraine, including by providing security assistance to the brave Ukrainians who are defending their country from Russian aggression, and humanitarian assistance to the millions of Ukrainians who have fled the violence.
Russia said Monday that President Biden's recent comments have pushed relations between the two countries to the brink of collapse. Last week, President Biden called Russian President Vladimir Putin a war criminal. The United Nations says the war has forced 10 million people from their homes, including at least 3.5 who've left Ukraine completely. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
According to the UN, more than 900 civilians have now been killed in the fighting, including 75 children. Among the victims, a 96-year-old man who survived 4 Nazi concentration camps. Some of the most innocent victims in the war in Ukraine have only just been born. Some of the hundreds of infants born to Ukrainian surrogates are now trapped by the fighting and kept away from their biological parents, who are helpless to keep them safe as they anxiously watch the war from other countries. The team of nurses and doctors are caring for the 21 orphaned babies, for now in a makeshift basement bomb shelter.
The people are dying. Children are dying too. Not just soldiers, but also children, mothers, sisters.
Ukraine is a global leader in surrogacy. When the war broke out, it became too dangerous for their biological parents to come get them. The Growing Families charity estimates as many as 800 couples are awaiting their babies, including some from America. A Moscow court banned Facebook and Instagram today for what it deemed extremist activity in a case against their parent company, Meta. Prosecutors have accused these social media platforms of ignoring government requests to remove what they described as fake news about the Russian military action in Ukraine and calls for protest in Russia. The court's ruling bans Meta from opening offices and doing business in Russia. Meta declined to comment. A Women's Army Corps battalion of about 850 black women have earned a Congressional Gold Medal for their work during World War II. President Biden presented them the award for pioneering military service, devotion to duty, and the part they played in boosting morale for people stationed in Europe. The group, who served at the time when the armed forces were segregated by both race and gender, set up a new mail tracking system and cleared the 6-month backlog of mail in just 3 months, processing about 17 million pieces of mail by the end of the war. Officials in China say a Boeing 737 passenger jet with 132 people on board has crashed in the mountains of South China. It's the country's worst air disaster in nearly a decade. Local media reports say hundreds of firefighters were sent to the scene, but there's been no sign of any survivors. Information on the plane tracking website Flight Radar 24 stopped transmitting roughly an hour into the flight. The airline says the cause of the crash is under investigation. China's air safety record has improved dramatically, they say, in the past few years, with major investments in planes and airports and strict safety guidelines. The last deadly commercial passenger flight crash in China was back in 2010. Well, coming up here.